Hi yogis. So I want to talk to you today about forward bends. Forward bends as opposed to forward folds. In fact, I wanted to, we'll do it with yoga mat. Hang on a sec. So a forward bend is a curve, right? I don't know if that illustrates it very well, but often what we see is this, or this is what we're going for. And in fact, in some cases, it's more like this, right? And this happens a lot if you are anterior pelvic tilted, like myself. So what happens is you tend to fold or bend where you naturally find it easiest. So if you have anterior pelvis, you're most likely, it's easy to show you here, have a natural arc in the spine. Easier to see when you're standing. There, right? So posterior pelvis is more like that, and the neutral pelvis is somewhere in the middle. So we all know that when you come to sit down, the pelvis becomes more prominent in whichever tilt you're in. So if you're posterior, you might find it hard even to sit in this position, feel like you're rolling backwards. And so why am I talking about this today? Because many yogis end up with what's called a yogi butt or a hamstring tear. I've in fact experienced hamstring tears from being pressed into the forward fold when already quite deeply in the forward fold. Now, in the forward fold, aka bend, the goal is not to bring the head onto your feet and lay your body flat on your legs. But this is kind of what we deem to be deep or impressive or desirable in a forward fold nowadays. So you see this in the standing forward fold, in the seated forward fold, and even actually the upwards forward fold. Okay, poses like Urdhva Mukha. Okay, people are trying to get a straight back and straight legs and just join the two together. When in fact what this does is creates a lot of pressure here and the hip joint. What it doesn't do is actually stretch your back very much. So if you're folding only in your hips, your back isn't really seeing a lot of the action, right? So you miss out on all the great work of the forward bend, which is in fact trying to create space through all of the vertebrae of the back, from the tiny vertebrae at the neck to the deep lumbar vertebrae below, maybe all the way down into your tail as well. So if you look previously at the work of Ashtanga and Hatha Yoga, you'll see that, well, you've probably seen my stories. You know, Krishnamacharya taught a forward bend as a round shape. And actually, if you read Yoga Makaranda, he has 3 steps of Paschimottanasana, and the first one is simply bending forward as much and as relaxed as you can. And then I think it's B and C, maybe there's a D. He starts to, take this fold or bend, further forwards and more active. If you look in Yogamala, where should we start? So Uttanasana here. You can see there's a very clear bend and the head is in. So this accentuates the curve. The hips are set back and the hips and the buttocks are not pouring over the top of the crest, if you like, and trying to get pulled down towards the front of the body. They're rooted and staying back. So what I've been doing actually is trying to keep my sit bones on the back of the body and start my bending from the lower spine and sacrum and continue that through. And continuing forwards through the sequence, you also see Paschimottanasana here. It's a round spine, which somehow we're scared of these days. Ardha Baddha Padmottanasana. Again, he's round, whereas we all seem to go straight down through that hip crease. And most importantly, the Paschimottanasana. Look how rooted the sit bones and the thighs are. Okay, look how the spine grows up, forwards and down evenly. It's very hard to do. I'll just show you a couple more. Janushasana, head to knee pose. Kind of, we hear a lot more about this pose being as a round, but not so much the Marichasanas or the upward poses that come later. So why don't I show you? See this Ubayu Parangustasana? We don't see this a lot today. So it's, again, his sit bones and his femurs are rooted, his pelvis is neutral, and he's arching. We would perhaps want to correct this nowadays and go for that kind of straight legs, straight body shape again, which means less stretch. So, if you're anterior pelvic tilting, like me, you want to focus on keeping the hips and femurs down. So I've been working on really activating the quad muscles, which we should do always, but extra work. And keeping this feeling like it's going down and into the ground, rather than just giving up and letting it pull forwards with you, right? So there's kind of this extension, axial extension, which is a straight line to start and leave a pose. So we see that here with the activation of Uddiyana Bandha, which of course actually contracts this area, it tightens. Okay, so actually exhale, I'm almost rocking back into the bandha, into my hips, and then doing my best to try and let the spine come down in a round shape. Okay. As I breathe, I've been focusing on releasing the muscles to inhale, again to open the vertebrae and the back muscles, and exhale, again, it's kind of rooting back and down. And you see this in the old photos, the lower abdomen and the thighs very close together, incredibly close together, but not from force, rather from the bandha itself, which I'm going to say again is keeping all of this down, and the spine is getting way more action. And you know what? It feels so good. So I hope that's useful. I want you guys to try it in all of the forward bends. Take your axial extension, find your bandha, and then exhale. Bandhas go back and the spine comes down. You can try it as I've been trying in Paritasana. You might not go in so far if you're trying to keep your hips back, but you're going to get more of the lower body and lower back action, which is of course what you want in these poses, which prepare you for the next poses, which need more hip and lower back kind of mobility. And yeah, don't be scared to come away from your straight lines. So remember that if you want to work the straight lines and open the back, you have Dandasana, which sets you up before you take your flexion, if you're doing primary, or extension, if you're doing your secondary. And each time you start, your Urdhvastasana is straightening you. Your exhale, Uttanasana, is a flexion pose. Axial extension again, and so it continues. So you're always going to have your straight lines and your space, but don't get stuck on being straighter and longer and longer and longer and losing the work. So I've ranted a little bit there. What else can I say? I will credit the teachers who have inspired me to work my practice this way in the comments. You can check it out. And what else did I really want to tell you? Damn it. Anyway, let me know how you get on.